it. Okay, hi Facebook. Right, hang on, I'm setting up Zoom as well, multitasking here. All righty, hi everybody. Okay, so we are live on Facebook over there, and we are on Zoom over here. And I can see we've got some people arriving. Hello, Amy. I see Amy is arriving there. Fabulous, welcome along. All right, so hi. How you doing? You all good? Good stuff. All right, so there's going to be people hopping in, I think, on various different screens at various different points in time. So I'll be jumping up and letting people in and struggling to see what questions are coming in and all of that jazz. I can see another participant arriving here. Let's admit Julia. There we go. All right, so I have both Jade and Sean here with me today. They are the newest additions to the NLP for Kids team, but on the head office end. So you guys have joined us via the Kickstart scheme, which is the government scheme to help young people get into employment a little bit more easily. And you've been with us for how long? 6 weeks?
Yeah.
A
month and a half.
Or is it week 7? Might be week 7
Week
by
7.
now.
Yeah.
It's flying by pretty quick. So one of the things that they're quite keen to do is to really up their game in terms of their knowledge about NLP for Kids, both from the perspective of the franchise opportunity, which I know is why some of you are here today, and also from the perspective of the work that we do with schools. We've got school stuff coming up in September.
Yeah.
Yay. The parents and families that we work with, so we're already phoning parents on a daily basis, aren't we? So there's quite a lot of different angles to this business, which makes it super challenging for them to wrap their heads around everything, because there's so much to learn. But I also know that means that we've got several different audiences that we're appealing to, like, simultaneously. So I wanted to give them a little opportunity to cut their teeth, shall we say, see what they know already, see where they might have some gaps in their knowledge, and give you guys an opportunity to get some questions answered as well. So I'm going to be here literally just to fill in the gaps. I've got our FAQs here as well, because I was thinking, oh, if people don't show up, then at least I know I've got some questions there. But yeah, we're doing well. We've got some people here already today. So I'm just going to see if there is a way on the Facebook screen for me to see. I can see we've got 6 people that have joined us live here. Let's see if there is a way to see any questions that come in. I think they'll come in on the side there. All right, perfect. And then our people that are here via Zoom, you can either unmute yourselves to send questions in that way, or you can just use, there is like a text box there that you can type into as well. So if you hover over your Zoom screen, you should be able to see, on my screen it goes to participants, and I think that the chat box pops up from there. So why don't I kick us off whilst everyone else is sort of thinking about the questions that they want to ask and get those lined up and sent over. I'm going to kick us off with a question, if that's all right. All right, so my question is, who do NLP for Kids work with? So who is our target audience? So not so much from the franchise side, but if I became a franchisee, who am I going to end up working with?
The target audience is children with anxiety, depression, all the way to kids with ADHD, basically anywhere in between the spectrum of anxiety all the way to ADHD.
Okay, all right.
Also parents
Struggling
with the children, that Sean
Yeah.
said. And also teachers as well. Like, you can aim for, when we're doing the schools, we can also bring the teachers into the workshops with the school students as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I'd say they're probably like the 3 big criteria that we focus on. In terms of the age bracket for children that we work with, if we're doing group work, we usually start at 7 years and upwards. And that's more from a perspective of making sure their concentration skills and comprehension levels are where we might need them to be. For one-to-one work, some of the practitioners would work with younger children as well. Let's let everyone in there. Hi, Yvonne. I would say that's more of a personal preference. So my background is working with young children. So I used to be a nursery nurse, so I'm completely comfortable with running a session with a 5-year-old, but that's not everybody's cup of tea. And then we've got the other end of the spectrum. So what's the sort of maximum age group that we work with? Actually, all of our practitioners train in standard NLP. So as well as doing NLP for kids, they do an NLP practitioner qualification, which is like the grown-up version. So you can work with adults as well. And for that reason, we work all the way up and through teenage years and with older young people too. So that's a sort of little bit from the age bracket perspective. When we speak to parents and they have a young person who's having some challenges, I will often ask them if their child is in mainstream school. And that's not to exclude anyone necessarily, because I've certainly worked with children who are not in mainstream school, but it's really just to make sure that we know who we're pitching to, and that we can, you know, make sure that what we're offering is going to be within their levels of comprehension. And then other things, I guess, other groups that we might work with, maybe children's charities from time to time. Doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes we get those sorts of opportunities that come along. Sometimes nurseries, we've had a few nurseries reach out to us before from the perspective more so of working with parents. So that's probably an area that we could put a little bit more focus into, to be quite honest. But yeah, as they quite rightly said, otherwise it's going to be parents are another key market area for us, and also schools, so potentially working with teachers. We've run staff training sessions and bits and pieces like that as well. All right. So let's see, has anyone sent in any other questions? Yes, or are we just going to be relying on mine? By the way, if you have just joined us, thanks for the thumbs up on Facebook, appreciate that. So if you have just joined us, we'll be running this show here until, I would say, at the latest 1 o'clock. But if we don't get many questions coming in, then it'll probably wrap up a lot sooner than that. All right, so we've had a question there from the perspective of the who we work with. What sorts, and I know you've mentioned a couple there already, what sorts of different types of issues do you think a practitioner might end up helping a young person with? What kinds of different, like you've spoken to parents already, what sort of stuff are they inquiring about when they phone up? What are the key things that you've heard them say?
I think a lot for me is ADHD and anxiety.
ADHD and anxiety.
A lot of that comes up. Also, we do get a lot of autism and ADD.
Yep.
And that's really it that I've had crop up. I don't know if it's
I would say the same, but a lot of parents do say it's off the back of coronavirus.
Interesting. Okay.
lockdown.
So I think that's another door, which obviously the pandemic's opened up, that a lot of kids have all these things because of the fact they've been indoors for the last 2 years or year and a half, etc.
Yeah, definitely. With the challenges that parents are facing with things like ADD, perhaps some OCD, autism, those sorts of issues, our job in that scenario is not to resolve that, because those are things that, you know, those are disorders that if you have those disorders, you have those disorders. Right, yeah. So we're not kind of stepping in from the perspective of, we can take that away for you. So what sort of support is it that you think we provide in those scenarios?
We provide parents, teachers, and children with the tools to help manage those different challenges they're facing, whether it's anxiety, depression, ADHD, OCD. We help them manage it better on a day-to-day basis, which will then in turn mean that with their life, as they grow older, they can manage it. So
Nice. All right, perfect. And in your opinion, from the parents that you've spoken to so far, how often do you think that, aside from, obviously we market, our key market area is going to be children and young people. How often do you think it's the parents as well that need some support?
I think just as often as it's the child is the parent.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I feel like some of the parents, some parents, without knowing so, add on to their kids' anxiety or the different challenges they're facing. They make it harder without even realizing that they're doing it.
Yeah.
And the parents' natural reaction is, "Oh, it's the kid's fault. It's my kid's fault." But sometimes that's not the case.
Yeah, okay, so we're looking to sort of upskill parents as much as we possibly can as well, along the way, because it's a tough job. Hi Bella, I can see a comment in there, thank you very much. All right, so let's dive into some of the franchise stuff. Julia, I can see you there. Give me a wave. Are you a parent or are you a franchise person? I can't hear you actually. Let me take you off mute a second. Let's ask.
I've unmuted.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah. Hi there. It's from a franchise angle. At the moment, as I wrote through a few days ago, I'm actually a school nurse, nursed for 37 years, but looking at something different going forward. So it was from a franchising point of view, really, but having immense understanding of all what you're talking about and knowing where this would be extremely useful.
Okay, marvellous. Do you have any specific questions for either Jade, Sean or myself?
I want to just hear and listen.
Okay.
One thing that did come to mind was if two of us were to train as NLP for Kids practitioners, could we be in business together?
Yeah, you definitely could. So my recommendation in that scenario, I'm just taking the reins on this one. My recommendation would be that both of you do the training, that you take up one license and share the license, because there's no point in doubling up in everything that the license offers you. You don't need two websites unless you're in completely different parts of the country, then maybe. But you know, there'll be a lot of the business support and licensing side that you don't need twice over. So you know, I would probably look at sort of partnering from the license perspective, but training independently, you know, both of you coming on the training. Does that make sense?
Yes, so we wouldn't have to have a license each then?
I don't think that would be the way. No, I don't think it'd be cost effective for you. I mean, I'm happy to sell you two if you want to, but
but we could each practice in our own rights.
Yeah,
being
we'll have
in business together.
Yeah, we'd have a bit more of a chat around, you know, what that would look like, because it would be a little bit tailor-made, I think. But if you know, if you are working collaboratively and you're working as a partnership, if you don't need two websites and you don't need, you know, two logins to our forum and all of those sorts of things, and that's going to cut down quite a lot of costings from our perspective. So we wouldn't look to try and sort of sell you double something that you don't need doubled up on.
Lovely. I did have another question as well. Would you need to be part of the hypnotherapy society or counselling society? You know, do you need to join up to that?
You don't need to, no. So both NLP and hypnotherapy are classed as alternative practices, which on the downside of those is that they're not regulated in the same way as other interventions might be, such as CBT, for example, or to some extent counselling as well. So there are some organisations that we do recommend that you seek membership with. So from an NLP perspective, we're members of the Association of NLP, which is the ANLP, and they're the largest professional body for NLP practitioners. They like their support is really good. They do an awesome magazine underneath all of my COVID paraphernalia. I will show you. This is Rapport magazine. This is the summer edition. There's a particularly good article in the education section this month on page 6. So I definitely recommend membership with the Association of NLP. From a hypnotherapy perspective, we are members of the General Hypnotherapy Standards Council. And so that puts you onto the General Hypnotherapy Register for the UK. So there are different organisations you can join. We have a non-profit company called Superheroes, which some of you might have heard of, and that one isn't specific to NLP or specific to hypnotherapy. So that one has membership with the BACP, which is the British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy. So that one's a bit more all-encompassing. But getting individual membership for that one is a little bit more challenging with these specific qualifications. So those are the organisations I would recommend that you are affiliated with. If you've heard good things about those other ones that you've mentioned, I wouldn't discount them. I just don't personally know those ones. And I think it is, in any respect, really useful to have some affiliation with a professional body, because I just think it sort of ups your game a little bit from a professional angle.
Yeah, lovely. Could you email those to me, Gemma, please?
Of course I can.
And they're just
Thanks.
are they just recommendations? They're not requirements.
They're not requirements. On the NLP for Kids website, if you have a look through the list of practitioners, so it is in the one-to-one sessions section, you'll see all of the practitioners that are franchised with us at the moment, and you'll notice that very recently we've added a new feature there, and that new feature is it has an icon telling whoever's viewing the website these are the certifications that this particular practitioner has in place. And if you are a member of the NLP, then actually it has that logo under your name on the NLP for Kids website now. And if you're a member of the GHSC, it has that logo under your name. If your insurance is up to date, if your first aid is in place, if you have your data protection, your DBS. So basically we always have a challenge with our practitioners, and I know it's because they get busy, and I know some of them are watching, so I'm going to tread very carefully here, but it's always a challenge for us to stay on top of their documentation that we think is important. So obviously DBS, insurance is super important. We also ask for paediatric first aid. We ask for you to be members of the ICO, which is the data protection side of things. And we also ask you to have another one that I can't think of off the top of my head. But yeah, there's a few important documents that we like to hold for you here at the office. So part of encouraging the practitioners to make sure they have that is to now display the logos on the website to prove that they have. And then if something goes out of date for you, obviously we remove that logo from your profile. So I wouldn't say it's compulsory, but I would say we heavily encourage it.
It's understandable for future clients. You want to see people's credentials.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it serves a positive purpose for all of you as well, because, you know, parents are going to feel more comfortable coming to see someone that they know has got all of their check boxes checked. So yeah.
Lovely. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thanks. I'll just unmute.
All right, lovely. Amy, was there anything specific you wanted to ask about? You're joining me for training, not this weekend, it's next weekend, isn't it? We get started.
Yeah, next weekend. Yes. No, I'm excited. No, I just wanted to jump on and kind of just learn a bit more, really. Just listen in. So right. I'm excited.
How have you found it going through your, because you've been doing the online assignments and the videos, how's all of that stuff been for you?
Yeah, it's been a busy few months sort of with work and things like that, so but it's been good for me to be able to fit around work and things like that, so that's what has been really helpful for me, but no, I've really enjoyed it and I just excited about it.
Awesome. I'll see you in a couple of weeks then.
Yeah.
All right, lovely. Okay, so some other bits then that might be helpful for people, because we've obviously got a couple of ladies there. They come in, they're quite knowledgeable about all of this already. Yeah. So for someone who is looking at this from a franchising angle and who is thinking, you know what, I'd like to make a difference working with children and young people, this sounds like it could be a good fit for me. What is the kind of bare bones facts that they need to know in terms of, firstly, how much does this cost? How much am I going to need to invest in this to get started?
So to begin with, we have 3 different types of training. That's silver, gold, and then platinum training, which includes hypnotherapy as well.
Okay. I'm going to pause you. What do you get with the silver level that you don't get with? What do you get with the gold that you don't get with the silver? What's the difference? Sean's about to go.
Oh no,
Shall I jump in?
yeah, you might have to.
Shall I?
Go on, give it a go.
Okay.
Give it a go, Jade.
The silver is NLP for kids,
Yeah.
and the gold is NLP for parents and teachers.
Yes.
And then platinum is NLP hypnotherapy.
That's the one.
For kids.
That's correct, yeah. So if you do the silver level training, you get the training that enables you to work with children and young people in one-to-one settings, also in group workshops, and also to engage with schools as well. We cover all of that on the silver level training. You get a bonus course, which is a 7-day NLP practitioner course. So that 7-day prac course is the one which is standard NLP training that is usually taught for the purposes of going off and working with grown-ups, but it's an additional qualification. So you get 2 certificates as a result of doing the silver level training. If you do the gold level training, you get all of what I've just said. So all of the stuff that's in the silver is included in the gold. But in addition, you get the parents and teachers training. And again, that's an additional 2 certificates because one is NLP for parents and one is NLP for teachers. And so there's 2 different courses sort of rolled into one for that one there. With the platinum level training, that's the hypnotherapy for kids. And that one includes everything that we said about in the gold and everything that we said about in the silver. Plus, it also includes an additional course, which is how to use hypnotherapy with children. That's not necessarily like putting them into a deep zombified trance state. Quite often, we're looking at things like using metaphors or storytelling, or just how to use your language in a way that helps to affect positive change in children. So we cover all of that one on the hypnotherapy for kids level of training. Not everybody does all 3 levels, you don't have to. You could start out with silver,
Work your way up.
or work your way up and upgrade later if you wanted to, or you could start at gold and then finish off to platinum at a later stage. Do you think, would it be possible for someone to do the silver level, so NLP for kids, and then skip parents and teachers? Maybe they say, I don't want to work with parents and teachers, but they do want hypnotherapy for kids. Could that work?
Yeah.
Yeah, they could do that.
Yeah, you could just tweak the training and be like, I don't want the parents and teachers section, I just want to do these 2.
Perfect. Could you say, I don't want to work with teachers, but I could really benefit from the parents part?
Yeah. It's totally up to you.
Yeah.
You can pick and choose how you want to receive the training and how you want to work going forward.
Yeah, so you can basically bespoke it out for yourselves and create a package for yourself that works for you. All right, so with that in mind, what is the total cost for each of those 3 levels of training?
The silver level training is 6,000, including VAT.
Very good.
The gold is £9,000, including VAT, and the platinum is 12,000, including VAT.
Very good. All right. And do people need to sort of like go get a loan and pay out that £12,000 all in one go? What are their options?
Nah, so you've got the option of paying in installments.
Yeah.
That is one initial down payment. Then for each following module you do after that, you pay for each module when you choose to do the module.
Yeah.
So you get the first 7 modules, I believe, for free when you pay the initial.
1495 plus that.
Yeah, 1495 plus that. And then after that, as you go on to each module, you can pick and choose when you want to do it, and then you just pay for each module as you go along. So you can spread out the costs over the course of a year, a couple months, however long you choose.
Yeah,
which is £300.
Yeah, so the module payments are £300
so
each.
you pay the 1,700.
Yeah.
And then the 300 each time. And then 17th module, you get released the course.
You get, yeah, so you can then actually attend the live training.
Yeah, the live training on
To
the 17th
finish off your
module.
qualification. Yeah,
Or you
yeah.
can do it as a deposit and
Yeah.
instalments,
yeah,
or you can do it as a one-off payment,
yeah,
and sometimes we can tweak the payments.
yeah, just to make
To make it work.
Yeah. And you can also now, so Sean was mentioning about the modules there. We've now got, so it's 20 modules in total for NLP for kids, so the silver level one. You can actually literally just go one module at a time and start at module 1, pay £300, do module 1, £300, do module 2 when you're ready. When you get to module 6, we'll send your manual out to you because you will have covered the cost at that stage. So yeah, you can really sort of bespoke it and do it at your own speed. All right, I can see that there is something in the chat box here. Let me see if we have a question. Thought of a question: is there a time frame after doing NLP for kids that you need to do the parents and teachers and then the hypnotherapy training?
No.
No.
Initially, as you're going on, if let's say a year after you've got your ball rolling and you're fully in the swing of doing sessions with children, you can then go on and say, okay, let me jump onto the goal training and then start doing parents and teachers. And then from there, maybe wait another year, 6 months, however long, and then go on to hypnotherapy as well.
And also in the module assessments with the different modules, the silver is 20 modules, and then the gold is plus 10 modules for the parents and then another 10 modules for the teachers. So you can do just 10 for the parents, just 10 for the teachers. So it really varies.
You can basically make it work for yourselves, make it bespoke for you. So take whatever time frames you need really to do what you want to do around it. The one place I would say we do maybe get a bit strict with the time frames is after the training, and when I say after the training, after the very final piece of training you're going to do with us. So if you're on the platinum training, it will probably be the hypnotherapy for kids will be the last one that you do most often. So after you've done your final round of training with us, if you then want to go on and join the team, so join the franchisee team and take up a license with us, I like to put a limit there of 3 months, because otherwise you'll come out of training, and if you get too busy with life and everything else that's going on around you after the training, I think you can sort of get out of the swing of it all very quickly, and just kind of forget stuff. And when I've let people take maybe 6 months after training before deciding whether or not they want to license, they'll then come back and we're getting them all set up for a license, and they're actually still asking questions about the training because they kind of need a refresher on it all. So I like you, if you're going to do the licensing side of things, like do that sooner rather than later after the training is ended, just so that it doesn't all kind of fall out of your ears during the night as to what it was that we covered on the training. All right, so that's the one thing I would say from a time frame perspective. All right, so speaking about timing, how long does it take for someone to complete the training, would you say? Like if someone wanted to do platinum level training, how long is that going to take?
As in live training?
Yes, they want to get the proper certificate, so they're going to do the live portion too.
So each level you have, in the silver you have 4 days training, in the gold you have 4 days training, and in the platinum you have 4 days training, but then you also get the bonus course which is 7 days training. So maths. 19 days.
Yes.
But it's spread out between 3 months.
Kind of, yeah. So there's fixed points in the year when we run the training. So NLP for Kids training, that one runs in March and August. And the reason why we run it in March and August is so that we've got one during term time, which is the March one, and one during non-term time. And that's because we sometimes have teachers or people like Julie, who's maybe a school nurse, who want to come to the non-term time ones. so you don't want it interfering with their work. But then sometimes we have people who are parents who are like, actually, I'd rather do the training when the kids are at school. And so we also then have the training, which is during term time as well. The same as with parents and teachers. There's one term time and one non-term time. So that one runs in April and October. And then with the bonus course, which is the NLP practitioner, the 7-day one, again, there's a term time and a non-term time. So the February one is in February half term, and then the non-term time one is in September. Yes. And then for hypnotherapy for kids, because that's the course that, you know, it's not necessarily rare for people to go for the platinum level training, but it's more common that people will upgrade to that one at a later stage rather than all in one go. So we only run the hypnotherapy for kids once a year, and that one is in November. All right, so that one doesn't have the term time, non-term time option, it's just November. That's just the way that one is. Okay, all right, is there any other questions there? No, I don't think so. No, okay, all right, so let's have another question from me. Okay, this might be a bit of a curveball one for you. All right, so when someone joins the licensing team, are they employed by us?
No. Technically, you're self-employed. So that means like all taxes, etc. You have to run that through yourself at the end of the tax year.
Okay.
So
yeah, all right.
But you are kind of employed, because we are here to help. We are here to do all your documents when they're here and help you with everything. But you're not. We're not like running you. Like, you're running your own business. You're running your own thing. You're doing it all. Your websites, everything. We just give you the access to do it. Yeah. With the license.
Yeah. Fair point. And could someone, so they may be self-employed, could they also be a limited company? Could they do that? Yeah, absolutely right. Sometimes it works out financially better to become a limited company rather than self-employed. It largely depends on what your turnover is within your business. And there are other benefits to being a limited company as well, in that there is a bit more protection from a liability perspective if you're a limited company. So for me, I started out self-employed in the beginning, and I kind of kept being self-employed up to the point where there was so much from an incoming and outgoing perspective that it got a bit overwhelming, and I thought, I need an accountant. And as soon as I reached the stage where I thought, I need an accountant now, that was when I also became a limited company. What about VAT? Do they need to be VAT registered?
yeah.
Sure.
No, not necessarily. in some, if they want to go on and
Is it because
people
no? Is it because we do all the tax on this end?
No. So NLP for Kids is VAT registered.
Because it's such a
because it's a bigger company. Yeah. So with VAT, there is a threshold at which you need to become VAT registered. And the last time I checked, the threshold was about £86,000 in turnover, which is both your incoming and your outgoing. So it's not just any one of those individually, it's like a combination of them. Yeah. With VAT, it means that for your customers, you're going to charge them 20% more than you used to, because the VAT rate for this country is 20%. Which doesn't please the customers very much, as I'm sure you can imagine, or you swallow that and you include it in the price, which means you earn 20% less than you used to, which then doesn't make you very happy. So my general rule for you guys around VAT is avoid it like the plague. Try and keep your turnover below that figure so that you don't need to become VAT registered, because we've been doing account stuff this morning, haven't we? Yeah. And that's because I've now got a VAT bill, which is probably sitting in my inbox. And it just means that then, you know, every 3 months or however often you set up to make that VAT payment, you're going to have a chunky little bill that comes in. that needs paying. So yeah, for practitioners, I would say avoid becoming VAT registered until it becomes absolutely essential that you do. All right, good. What about, let's see, what are the license fees?
The full license is a 3-year license and it's £300, including that, a month.
Yep.
And then you get the lighter license, which is a 5-year license, which is £120 a month, including VAT.
Okay, so what's the difference between the full license and the lighter license?
The main differences are with the full license, your DBS and insurance is paid for by, well, through the fees, by us. You get regular mentoring with Gemma for the first 12 weeks, and then after that, once every month.
Yeah.
And then after 6 months, with the full license, after 6 months, you have the option of downgrading to the lighter license. And then with the full license as well, 10% commission fees charged every time we refer to a client. We refer a client to you.
Yeah.
However, with the lighter license, we charge a 30% commission fee every time we refer someone to you.
Okay, good.
In the lighter license, your paid DBS and insurance is only paid once.
Yeah.
So that's when you obviously receive the license, and then it needs renewing every year.
3 years for your DBS.
3 years for DBS and every year for your insurance.
Yeah.
And you don't have the regular mentoring from Gemma, you have to pay for the mentoring.
Yeah. Or there is mentoring videos in the
video.
forum. You can work through it. You know, you can kind of work through the mentoring videos that have been recorded in the past otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And you can always go to the full license at any point in time.
Yeah,
So
if you decide to upgrade, then you can do it at any point.
After like a month or two and you want to get the mentoring and everything, you can just change.
Really good. Yeah, that sounds like it's on the money.
Yeah.
So I would say with regards to the licensing and the pricing around it, the one thing I would add is that there comes a point where the full license is actually better value for money. And you have to sort of do the maths on it a little bit, but in particular if you're working in schools, which is one of the harder parts of the job that we do, is actually helping practitioners to gain entry into a school and to start doing some work there. Schools are really challenging to get into, but we've had it in the past where maybe a practitioner's been doing 3.5 or 4 days a week working in a school, and in that instance, because of the commission that we take, it financially works out better for them to be on the full license so that we take the lower commission. And we'll always point that kind of stuff out to you because we like to sleep well at night and be good ethical people. So we'll always sort of say, no, this is better value for you, do it this way, so that we get you on the right track with it. I'm going to ask you a question that I don't expect you to know the answer to, but I'm just interested to see what your imaginations come up with.
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference between a franchise and a license? Because we've mentioned both, we use both bits of terminology quite interchangeably. That parcel's going to be for me. So tell the people what you think the difference is. Oh no, maybe it's not for me.
Franchise is something that you actually buy into, so you're paying for training, the brand, and then with the license, you're kind of paying for everything, like the little things like the admin side, the website, the t-shirts, us setting you up with schools, us getting in touch with you.
Okay, that might be for me. Yes.
I think that those are the differences.
Okay, so do you think we're offering both a franchise and a license, or just one or the other?
I think both, because you can just do the franchise. You can just pay for the franchise, and then be off on your way.
Okay.
But then you can also choose to work with us essentially, and then get the license, and you've got a franchise and the license.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if you would class them as individual or just as one.
Okay, I'm going to scrap everything they just told you. All right, but I liked where their brains went. All right, so in terms of what you were just saying there, we offer training is the first thing. And then after training, people have the option as to whether they take that training and do their own thing with it.
Become a franchisee in the light.
Or they then join us and get access to all the branding, the resources, the website, blah, 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 blah. Now, we do use the terms license and franchise interchangeably. The reason is mainly because people are more familiar with the term franchise. Like, people have heard of that, so they've got a concept of what it means. But technically and legally speaking, ours is not a franchise. It's a license, all right? So the difference between a franchise and a license is with a franchise, you tend to get physical, like actual physical stuff. All right. So for example, McDonald's is a franchise. Yeah. You get a restaurant. And you get all of the equipment in that restaurant, and everybody's making burgers in exactly the same way, and all their burgers are going to look and taste the same, whether you go to McDonald's in Hemel Hempstead or McDonald's in Switzerland. Okay. All right. With a license, hang on.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
We'll get there. With a license, it tends to be more like intellectual property.
Okay.
Rather than a physical thing. So by intellectual property, it's more like you get an idea.
That makes sense.
Okay, so NLP for kids isn't really a thing that you can pick up and put in a box. It's more like an idea of different methods that you use, all right? So that's intellectual property. With a license, it tends to be more flexible. So you don't have to do anchoring in the same way as I do anchoring. If you develop your own style, you're going to pitch it in your own way and say things differently and have your own jokes and all of that side of things. So with licenses, it's a bit more flexible, whereas with a franchise, same burgers, same way every single time.
Okay.
All right. Did you have a question?
No, I was just trying to, but then you started talking about the license. It was completely something that I didn't think it was going to.
All right, nice. What else can I ask you? Do you think that people need a business plan before jumping in and doing something like licensing with us?
100%. I recommend it on a personal level. I know if I went on to do the NLP training, and I didn't have a business plan and I just did it, I don't know where it wouldn't go very well. Yeah. You just need to know what sort of route you're going to go down, how you're going to do it, plan, organise, because then it's better for you as a business. Yeah. Okay. And with that being said, you've probably got some idea about the kind of things on a business level that we provide for the practitioners. Yeah. What things have you maybe come into contact with already where you kind of go, oh, that's like, if I was starting up a business, I would need this. They get that. That's really cool. What kind of things have you seen? Or
the little things like a website.
Yeah. Not a little thing.
Well, it's a big thing. Actually. A big thing. Yeah, the website is a big thing because that's your online presence. Every business now, you need an online presence. You can't just go off word of mouth, or you need to be available for the whole world to see you, whether it's somebody in London or somebody in America or wherever. Yeah. So I think that's a big thing that we do. Also, like following on to that, marketing. That's a big thing that we also do. We'll put you in the right places, get you in the right community in your area.
Yeah. How specifically do you know that we do that?
As in how do I know that? Why do?
Yeah, when you say like we make sure that you've got a presence in your local area, what kind of stuff are you working on?
Ads.
Which ads?
Google and Facebook, but mainly Facebook.
Yes. Yeah, so we do Facebook ads.
And I was just going to add on, so in the full license, you kind of get the website, the profile page on the NLP Kids website.
Yeah, you get that both licenses.
T-shirts, flyers, posters, business cards, email, invoice templates,
Books,
online forums, you get your DBS page, your insurance, you get the mentoring. So that kind of gives you a very big variety of a business plan on how you're gonna. So the mentoring is gonna really help put you into that sort of
right groove.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Nice. Based on what you've learned so far from being here, what do you see as being the thing that makes the difference between the practitioners who have quite a lot of work versus those who maybe don't have quite so much work? What have you observed as being the difference that they are in what they're doing?
I feel like the practitioners who treat it as a business,
Yeah.
they're a lot more successful compared to the practitioners who are a bit more like nonchalant about it. They just feel like, oh, I'm helping. Yeah, hobby. I'm helping the community. I'm getting the personal gain out of it. So I feel like when you treat it as a business, you can really take off with this, because mental health is something that's so big, and people all over the country are becoming so much more aware of it. I feel like as each year goes by, I feel like a lot more people are becoming more aware. Okay, mental health is just as important as physical health.
Yeah, I was about to say the same. Like, people who do it is just like, oh, I do this on like a little bit each day. For a few hours each day. Don't really get many coming through. But people who are just like, I'm doing this, I'm helping people, well, I'm helping myself.
A bit noisier.
Yeah, they're more out there, they're more chatty, they're more, I'm doing this, I need to promote this, do that, this, just the whole shebang sort of thing. They get a lot of people coming through, especially through the calls that I'm doing. I'm seeing a lot of people that are like that coming through for them, a lot more than the other sort of side.
And so you've mentioned websites. Is there any other sorts of bits of marketing that you've come across that you think either that I can see that working really well, or actually that is working really well for people?
I think social media at the moment, because it's just everywhere.
That's where it's at.
Yeah, like the Facebook is just going off sort of thing in a
I feel like
way.
also the correct social media, because the demographic of people you get on certain social media is different. So for example, Instagram or TikTok, that's a younger demographic as you find compared to Facebook and Twitter.
Yes.
You get more people who want to engage in a conversation in Facebook and Twitter. So if you target those areas, you'll find the correct parents in those.
Yeah,
in those
there's a lot more parents and teachers on Facebook, because every sort of adult
and LinkedIn
has,
is for teachers.
A lot of adults have Facebook, so because they're always in like a school group or in their like little groups and things like that, and it'll always pop up. And if they hear, like, even like you get the creepy like the Facebook, the adverts that pop up and they hear you speaking, it'll pop up. Like if like the parents are speaking about it between themselves and Facebook can hear it, like it'll pop up and like we can pop up and then they could click it. So just little things like that. I think social media at the moment is sort of big.
It's the place to be. So one of the things that I've had a few times when I've been speaking to people interested in the franchise, I've had a few people that have said to me in the past, like, I'm really, really good with young people. I know a lot about mental health. I've worked in that area before, but I cannot do technology. Like, I don't know anything about making or building a website. I'm not on Facebook. I don't know what a TikTok is. What would you be saying to those people? Like, if they're really, really interested, but they're saying, no, the technology is a no-go for me.
I'll say to them the same way you're gonna learn about the franchise. Is the same way you should learn about the internet side of it. Because, like, for example, like Ian, for example. He doesn't do face-to-face interaction. He doesn't see people, and he's one of the best practitioners we've got because of the way he markets himself on the internet. 100%. He doesn't have to leave his house to make the amount of money he's making. So I feel like it's about, you might really want to be like, okay, I'm helping the community, I'm helping this and that, but at the same time, you want to be able to say, I'm making X amount of money and putting in this amount of effort. And you want it to be as profitable as possible. That's the whole point of the business, really. That's the main objective of the business. The main objective should be that I'm making money and then I'm helping people. Or obviously they're on the same par, but you don't want to make no money. So
Anything else?
Just kind of like, if you need the help, ask. Like, if you've got a license with us, always ask. Like, you always, in the office we've got assigned key workers, like we are like a key worker to the practitioner, so we are always the ones, we have like half practitioners each, so we message them, see if everything's okay, if they need any help they can come to us. Always ask, and we could always send over little videos to kind of show you how to set up things, and we can send them over, we can help. But you could also do flyers, like if you want someone quite local, like if you want local, we can always do like the flyers that we get given and the cards. You can sort of like
Do your offline bit as well.
frantically send out flyers and cards and
Yeah.
in shops and things like that. But I think social media, if you do need the help, social media, do get on social media and get us to help with that.
Yeah, I would add as well that a lot of our support and resources that we provide you with are delivered to you through an online platform. So for those of you that are going through the training already, you're kind of familiar with that platform because you already are going through it to do your assessments, watch videos. So it's a very similar structure. It's actually the same software that's used for the what we refer to as our forum for the practitioners, where you can go in, download letters, watch videos, leave questions, and there is a lot of materials in there. And I don't know if you can see it up on the wall there, but you know, we've got award there for best use of technology in a family-friendly business. We have got an award up there for online innovation. So we are very much a company that has a strong technology online type of thread to who we are. So I would say it's very difficult to avoid that, even if you are someone who, you know, you're all about your soft skills and reaching out to people on a, you know, physical basis and being in their presence and all of that. You do have to sort of wrap your head around the techie and the business side of it as well, I would say. All right, cool. I'm just checking to see if there's any other questions. I don't think there is. All right, tell me about, this is the question number 1 in the FAQs on the website, geography. So sometimes with a franchise, there is something called a geographical restriction in place, which means that if you, let's say you bought McDonald's in Hemel Hempstead, basically you own that territory. Like no one else can have a McDonald's in Hemel Hempstead if you own the McDonald's in Hemel Hempstead, right? We don't have that with NLP for Kids. There are no geographical restrictions. So it means that, let's say Mark, who's just up the road from us here, he's technically in another county, he's in Bedfordshire, but if he said, do you know what, I'm going to get myself a little office over there, right opposite Gemma's place.
You can do it.
He can do it. So for what reason do we allow that to happen? Because some people think that's crazy, like they want to own their patch, they don't want anyone else coming on their turf. Why do we not do that?
I feel like the different practitioners come with different expertise to begin with. So for example, Mark, like just as an example, he's good at dealing with boys with anger management. You're probably good at dealing with boys with anger management, but you might not be as good as him. So that opens up a wider door for him, and he can say, look, this is my unique selling point, this is what I do, and here's the track record to prove it. For example, you can turn around and say, okay, teenage girls dealing with depression, that's something I'm amazing at. I'm good at speaking to them. So everybody should kind of have their own niche. And I feel like, obviously, if you say, oh, I'm just a person in Hemel, I'm just a person in St Albans, I'm just a person in Watford, then it makes it harder for you even sometimes, because it's like you have all these people, but you can't tap into all of them sometimes. So
Absolutely.
And I think also the financial side of it as well. We get some people who can't afford
Me.
Gemma, or you can't, or some people will want Gemma for more expensive because of the experience. So it's all about financially. If that person is in Hemel but can't afford Gemma, we would put them on to somebody else who's closest. But then also, if we have somebody coming in, but they're all the way up in Scotland, but there's no one near, they can do a Zoom with someone down here. So it's a very
we have
kind
some
of
fluidity about
it's kind of what the client wants, the client gets sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah, nice answers. Yeah, so I would just add to that and say, like, the niching bit that Sean mentioned there is super important. You're not going to be famous for being the NLP for Kids practitioner in Wimbledon. You'll be famous for being a specialist in something within using NLP with children. So it could be angry teenage boys, it could be selective mutism, it could be ADHD. So we do encourage you to kind of sub niche within the niche that is NLP for Kids, because it's better for you to have a big piece of a small pie rather than a small piece of a big pie. From a marketing perspective, it's going to make life so much easier for you. And it means then you're going to work with the people that you feel like you can become an expert in really helping them with those particular problems. So I think it's a bit of a win all round. It is, from our perspective, really important that we partner the right parents with the right practitioner. And you know, we're speaking to parents every day that sometimes we might have a parent who's a bit frantic, and so we don't want to put them with a practitioner who's very excitable. Or we might have a parent who is you know, actually needs a bit of a firm talking to themselves to get on the right track. So we want to put them with a practitioner who's going to be confident to do that. So we're looking to sort of match up personality sometimes, which is quite important. And the other thing that I say to people is, in this area where I am, Hemel Hempstead, we have something like 48 primary schools and about 16 secondary schools, might be a bit less than that. They've shut a few recently. That's a lot. Like, that's a lot of children. And if I did want to do more work in schools and run, you know, a marketing campaign around that here, I've only got 5 days in a week in which I can potentially work with 48 plus another 16 schools. I'm not going to be able to do that on my own. So there is more than enough children and families out there. This is in one town. So, you know, there's plenty to go around from my perspective. All right, good. We've got about 4 minutes left. So if there's anyone else here who has a question, either unmute yourselves or ping it over in the chat box for me. As you do that, I'll give you a nice, simple, easy question. Let's have a look. Yeah, go on.
Oh, I don't know if you saw my question. I had someone at the door, so you might have answered it when.
Let me have a look. Hang on. So another question. Are they all? Oh, they're all coming to me now. When we've completed training and are ready to set up our business, are we able to name it anything we like, or does it have to be an NLP for Kids name? Good question.
Anything you like, yeah. Like there's a few that have added like the child section in it, like if they've done the NLP for Kids. But yeah, anything you like.
Even like for example, Mary's I believe it's Mary's website. When I went on her website, a lot of her actual, like a large chunk of her content was actually towards relationships.
Okay.
And that's how she kind of marketed her website. And like the name, I can't remember the name that she chose, but yeah, you can name it anything you like. And then from there explore different avenues.
Yeah. So my recommendation would be that you do both. So you will have an NLP for Kids website because we give you one anyway, and you'll have an NLP for Kids business cards because we give you those anyway, and you'll have an NLP for Kids email address. All of that jazz is all sorted for you. So to some extent, you are going to be running a business as an NLP for Kids practitioner, but that absolutely doesn't exclude you from setting up something else under some other name and then featuring a page on that website to say, by the way, I'm also an NLP for Kids practitioner and having an NLP for Kids page on there. And on your NLP for Kids website, you might say, by the way, I also run this business where I work maybe with adults, or, you know, it's a different brand name. You can visit that one over here. So you kind of connect the two together. The reason why I think it's a good thing to do is because then when people are doing a Google search locally, so let's say we've got a dad who's looking for someone to help an anxious teenager in Walthamstow, and they do the search, and it comes up with your NLP for Kids website on page 1. And then underneath that, it comes up with your own branded website. And then underneath that, it's maybe got your LinkedIn profile. And underneath that, it's got your Facebook business page. They're all going to look slightly different because you've branded your own stuff in your own way. And then the NLP for Kids stuff is branded in our way. But ultimately, all roads lead back to you. So that one of those sites might resonate with them more than another. You know, they might see your one and go, I like her, and look at the NLP for Kids one and go, no, these are not the right people. But then they still end up coming to you. So, you know, the more you can do, the better.
Yeah.
I would say, you know, be cautious about creating too many brands. I speak from experience here. You know, if you can combine stuff, then do. So for example, if you're thinking you do want to work with adults and you do want to work with teachers and you do want to do kids stuff, that doesn't need to be 3 separate websites. You know, have your NLP for Kids one, then have your one under your own branding, and within that say, I work with adults, I work with kids. But don't kind of create a new brand for every single thing you offer. And I've seen it sometimes with the practitioners as well, where they maybe go, I'm going to write books. So they do a website about that and a brand about that. And then they go, I'm going to be a therapist. And so they do a website and a brand about that. And then they go, and I'm also going to do workshops and do that as a separate thing. And it just becomes a lot of maintenance, and it can be a bit time.
Some of them you can just put them all as one thing. So.
Exactly. Yeah. And to be honest, for the brand, it probably serves you better to say, here is my brand, it does all of these things, rather than here are all these separate things that, you know, you've got to try and stay on top of all the time. All right, good stuff. And I think we're at about 1 o'clock already, so I don't think there's any other questions from anywhere. Is there anything else that you guys haven't mentioned that you think might be useful or important for people to know about?
Not from me.
You've got it covered.
Nah, no.
All right, good stuff. Well, didn't they do well, everybody? Good stuff. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. I really appreciate those of you that did come along live and have pinged some questions and bits and pieces over. As you can see, we've still got lots here to learn, but I think it's getting in there, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I think you've learned loads. You probably know a lot more than you think you know. And hopefully today has helped you to realise that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Good stuff. All right, lovely to see everybody. Look after yourselves. We'll see you all very soon. Take care, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. And